All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Morgan Science. I'm the Senior Product Education Manager here at Jotform. Today, we are here to talk about 2026 EdTech trends. This is our first industry-related webinar of the year, so I'm very excited to be kicking things off, talking about EdTech trends, and hopefully your year is off to a good start as well. I just want to get some housekeeping out of the way before we move forward. So in front of you, the console that we're using here on 24 can be customized for your viewing pleasure without affecting anyone else's experience. So feel free to move boxes around or minimize things to get them out of the way if you would like. That's, again, not affecting anything for anybody. Below where you're currently seeing me, you'll see a number of resources related to today's session. We'll talk a little bit more about those as we go, but one of those resources is today's slides. Another is a link to the full report that this session is based on, so I do encourage you to check that out. And then we have a couple of webinars in there as well. Underneath where you're currently seeing slides, you will see a box for questions. We will have some time at the end to go over questions live, but I do have my colleague James on the line with us today. James is here to answer your questions as they come up. So again, feel free to share those whenever they come to you, and we'll have some time at the end to talk a little bit more about those. And then finally, I wanted to mention that to the very right of everything there, you'll see a calendar widget. If at any point today you're inspired and you'd like to speak with somebody of our Jotform Enterprise Sales team, you can click on that to schedule an appointment. Last thing to mention, we are recording today. You'll receive the recording about this time tomorrow, so it comes out just about 24 hours later. That will allow you to watch and rewatch this as often as you'd like. It will also include links to the slides and all of the resources that you see there as well. So rest assured, you'll be able to come back as much as you need. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off. I wanted to start just by talking about the current state of education. Economic and political pressure obviously affect every industry, but these things often hit education especially hard. These can stretch already tight budgets, worsen staff shortages, put added pressure on instructional time and workloads both in and outside the classroom. To better understand how educators are navigating these challenges, we conducted a survey a few months ago to better explore how digital tools and AI can support overextended teachers and improve student outcomes. All of the respondents for our survey were teachers, instructors, or professors, and they were split pretty evenly between K-12 and higher education. So today we're here to share what we've learned so that you can see what's working for people already and where practical tools can genuinely help reduce some everyday burdens. I know that we have a mixed audience on the line with us today, so we will, in talking about all of the challenges that came up, we'll talk a little bit about the differences between K-12 and higher ed respondents. And we'll also speak to those of you who are educators, as well as those of you who are on the administrative end of things as well. So hopefully we can combine these tips and these learnings with some fresh new 2026 energy and momentum that you might be having to help you have a successful and less burdened year. At this point, I want to introduce my colleague, Heather Turbeville. Heather is our content director, and she was also instrumental in creating, sending out, and analyzing our survey results, as well as writing the report. So she's our expert here. We're going to be sharing today's session. So I'm going to hand things over to Heather to talk more about the report itself and summarize our key findings. And then I'll be back in a little bit to share some examples from our user community. So Heather, over to you.
Great, thanks Morgan. As Morgan said, I'm Heather, the content director here at Jotform. I also work on the education marketing campaign team. So before we dive into the results, let's take a quick poll. In your day-to-day work, what tasks do you use digital tools for? The answer options are managing student data, curriculum management, communication, payment collection, and internal collaboration. Feel free to select as many answer options as you would like. And just an FYI that these answer options were also available to our survey respondents And like you, they were able to select more than one. Okay, I'm going to give us a few more moments so everybody has a chance to answer. Okay, let's take a look at those results. This is very interesting. So it looks like everyone here mainly uses digital tools for communication and internal collaboration, which is also a method of communication. That is very interesting. Let's take a look at how this, excuse me, how this compares to our survey results. So almost all, 91% of the educators we asked use digital tools to manage student information. This was the #1 answer across K through 12 and higher ed. But when we look at their other answers to this question, the two groups varied in how they responded. Those in K through 12 also use digital tools for curriculum and communication management, as well as appointment scheduling. Those in higher ed use tools for payments, HR management, procurement, and facilities. A very healthy 77% of educators said their digital tools either work well or very well. That's great, but it doesn't always mean that these tools make work easier. Many educators still face issues with communication, manual workflows, and they have to do redundant data entry that slows them down. So while 77% of them said that their tools work well, almost as many, 73%, said they want their tools to work better together. Respondents noted that they use about 5 different tools as part of their work. Half said that they have too many platforms to juggle. So while tool quality isn't necessarily an issue, fragmentation is. On a related note, educators told us that they spend about 7 hours a week on manual tasks. That's almost an entire workday spent sending emails, taking attendance, scheduling appointments, and so on. K through 12 teachers skewed slightly higher than higher ed, which makes sense when you consider the classroom management aspects of K through 12. But why do teachers have to do all of these manual tasks? That's a great question, and one that we don't have one single answer for, but some of it ties back to this lack of integration between tools, and as one of our survey respondents said, the need to jump from one platform to another just to get work done. While we're talking mostly about challenges with tech tools today, teachers let us know about other challenges they face. They have too much work to do. They don't get enough staff support. They have to deal with poor communication systems. They don't have enough time to do the work that's expected, and they receive inadequate training on their tech tools. So what do educators want? In addition to better integration among their tools, they'd like more automation and AI support, as well as improved usability. For instance, they'd like to be able to log into their tools remotely so that they can work on their mobile devices. They're also looking for customized dashboards and role-based customizations. All of these improvements highlight a need for streamlined workflows and less manual labor. What about AI? 65% of our survey respondents said that they are already using AI tools for their work. Many use AI strictly for admin tasks, like writing emails and summaries, creating lesson plans, and conducting research. A lower percentage use it just for student learning, such as designing lessons, generating worksheets, creating study guides, and for help with grading. But the highest percentage of those who use AI use it for a combination of admin tasks and student learning. Though educators see enormous potential in AI, especially in terms of improved planning, personalization, and efficiency, they have concerns. Ethics, for one. Accuracy. Unfortunately, LLMs can still hallucinate. Data security and student misuse are other concerns. Teachers want their students to use AI responsibly, not as a way to cheat and not in place of actual learning. So now that we've thrown all this information at you, what do you do with it? As Morgan mentioned, some of you here today are teachers and some of you might be administrators. So we're going to take a look at both aspects. If you're an administrator on the university or district level, take a look at your tech stack and see if you can consolidate or reduce any redundant tools. This is definitely easier said than done, but the time investment will be worth it. There will be great wide-reaching benefits for educators and for your budgets. Check in with your teachers and see where they have needs, where there are gaps. And if you are a teacher, it's probably not likely that you can single-handedly change the tech tools that your school or university uses, but your opinions matter. According to one of our survey respondents, those who do make these purchasing decisions at their organization expect faculty to surface issues and let them know what they need their tech tools to do. For everyone, take a look at what you can change. Is there anything that you do more than twice a week? If so, try to automate it. One example could be homework or attendance-related emails. Maybe your platform has built-in messaging. Maybe you could use ChatGPT or Jotform's Gmail agent to draft these messages. As the educators who responded to our survey have shown, AI can help reduce your administrative burden as well as assist with student learning. So look for ways you can comfortably incorporate AI into your current workflows. And with that, I will hand things back to Morgan, who will share some practical use cases from the Jotform community. Morgan?
Great. Well, thank you so much, Heather, for the insights from our survey. And again, if anybody wasn't here at the beginning of the session, the full survey results are available in the resources. So do feel free to download that and check out that survey. I think as valuable as it can be to think about those practical ways to move forward, it's often equally important to know that you're not the only one struggling with something. So whether you're in K-12 or higher ed, hopefully there was something in what Heather just shared that you can relate to. And hopefully it's been helpful for you to see those trends and think about some ideas for how to move forward. Heather just talked about suggestions for systematic change for those of you more on the administrative space, as well as some tips for individual educators to streamline your own personal workloads. And at this point, I want to talk about some examples from our user community to back up with what Heather just shared. These are examples from organizations that are using Jotform to tackle many of the challenges that Heather just talked about. Most of these are more on the systematic side, but I do have some smaller scale examples as well. So we can look at the impact of a single educator or a single department. So let's kick that off. First, we have the Anaheim Union High School District. The district here serves more than 26,000 students across 21 campuses and spans 46 square miles. So it's a pretty big district. It is the third largest employer in Anaheim with 3,000 people. For reference, Disney is the #1 employer in Anaheim. So it's a pretty big school district. And as you can imagine, with a district of that size, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of paperwork to process and a lot of different workflows that happen. So Anaheim Union High School District wanted to bring as much of that as possible digital rather than having to rely on paper forms and manual workflows. And They chose Jotform Enterprise for the ease of use, as well as the ability to scale across the district without any added complexity. Since implementing Jotform, the district has digitized student registration, cutting registration time in half, both for the families who are doing the registering, as well as for the staff who have to process registration. So a lot of time saved all around there. The district has built 160 forms, and many of those include advanced workflows for things like approvals, payments, e-signatures, and more. Those workflows automate about 40 hours of clerical work per week. That is not a misstatement. So basically a full-time employee's worth of work, leaving their staff to focus on more higher level work. Several of those workflows also integrate with other tools that the district uses, like Google Workspace and Square, to streamline data transfer and collect payments digitally and more. And one other thing that the AUHSC is doing is that they've created mobile apps with forms and resources for individual departments throughout the district. That way, the district can provide some consistency and data centralization, but there is still some individual workflow control for the departments and individual resource sharing for each department. Next, we have the Plainfield Community Consolidated School District. This is the 5th largest school district in Illinois. Plainfield faced a pretty scary situation as they were migrating its website from one service provider to another. It lost all of its forms over a holiday weekend in the middle of the year with students set to come back to campus in a couple of days. So it was a pretty frantic time. There was no time for coding, and staff had to replace the district's forms very quickly. With Jotform Enterprise, PCCSD was able to replace a state-mandated form and a workflow within just a few hours. And then within a matter of days, they were able to replace everything. Now, PCCSD uses Jotform workflows in nearly all of its forms. It also integrates with Google Drive to make data accessible for the entire staff. Some examples of forms and workflows that it's incorporated are its pre-K and summer school registration. These processes involve about 30 different stakeholders with approval routing and notification. So digitizing this workflow has saved a lot of back and forth effort for the district. Similarly, its dance attendance form has a workflow that requires going to a correct approver, sending emails to students, to parents, and other schools within the district, and they have automated that process as well. And the technology department's vacation request workflow automates approvals and updates calendars with a single button. There's a really nice quote from Justin Van, the web director at PCCSD, here on the slide. I think this summarizes what Jotform can do really well, and I think something that PCCSD is doing really well is building workflows into everything. But Justin says, if I press a button, it does 5 things. Why wouldn't I want that? So very nice way to summarize everything that Jotform can help them do. Moving to some smaller scale examples, we have Bosco. Bosco is a post-16 vocational college in London that focuses on supporting students that didn't thrive in a traditional education environment. Bosco offers flexible learning paths designed around individual needs. And kind of similar to what we saw in the Anaheim example, the principal here, Darren Coughlin, wanted to replace paper registration forms with a fully digital process, and chose Jotform after trying other tools because it was easy to build forms that adapt to each student and stay up to date even after submission. Also similar to Anaheim, Bosco cut student registration time in half, making onboarding faster and more flexible and leaving staff more time to focus on student success. Bosco significantly improved data accuracy thanks to better data capture at the onset, as well as the elimination of manual spreadsheet and manual data transfer. Bosco has eliminated physical files, replacing them with automatically generated PDFs for record and audit readiness. And since educational audits are something that's common in the UK, they are now more prepared for those audits. Data is easier to locate, export, and validate through integrated digital workflows. Our last example here is the Henrico County Gifted Program. This is a single program that serves the entire Henrico County public schools in Virginia. The team here works closely with faculty, teachers, and families to make sure that students across the district have fair access to gifted education services. The department identifies nearly 3,000 gifted students each year with a 19-part evaluation form. That form used to be on paper, but of course, they wanted a way to be able to digitize that. So to speed processes and improve data accuracy, the district came to Jotform Enterprise. Now that that evaluation is done digitally, and there's automatic tallying that's included, so that data is easier to view in Jotform, and it's much faster and easier to go through all of these applications. This saves the district about a half hour of admin time for each of the evaluation forms. That adds up to about 38 work weeks per year that they're saving with automation. They have also centralized data within a single system, making it easy to share data securely with schools across the district. Now, the district is able to collect parent e-signatures twice as fast as they were before, significantly reducing delays in the identification process. And while in this case, it started with one department, they have now expanded their Jotform use to multiple departments, such as the district's transportation department. There's, again, a nice quote on the page here. This is from Jenna Conley of the Henrico County Gifted Programs, speaking on her work with on the administrative end of the district and how she supports teachers. I think this is probably something that a lot of you who are working in an administrative capacity relate to. She says it's our responsibility to not overburden our teachers. That's the most important thing of all. And again, I think that's a really nice way to summarize some of what administrators do. Do want to give a quick plug at this point for one of the webinars that you'll see in the resources, 5 practical strategies to prevent teacher burnout. That's similar to today's topic, but a little bit more focused on what teachers and administrators can do to keep teachers from burning out. It's all there in the title. So that webinar is available on demand, and you can access that in the resources and view it at any time. I just mentioned in this case that the Henrico County program, this started with this department using Jotform and expanded to multiple departments using Jotform. And so plug for our other webinar, which is upcoming with Abby Bell from Lipscomb University. And I think Abby's on the line with us today. So hi, Abby. Quick shout out to her. Abby is going to be doing a webinar for us in about a month where she's going to talk about a similar example of starting Jotform with one department, or she was kind of spearheading things and then expanding use throughout the entire campus at Lipscomb. So that'll be a fantastic webinar, and I recommend signing up for that as well. So as you can see from all of this, many people and institutions or departments or organizations consider Jotform not just one more tool, but a full system that digitizes, automates, and streamlines multiple workflows, from parent communication, syncing with LMS and district systems, routing approvals, and even generating content using built-in AI tools, all with customizable dashboards for staff and the ability to create personal workspaces. And though I didn't talk about AI in any of these examples I just shared, we do have plenty of AI options and use cases. For example, Stephen Brady, elementary education supervisor and district testing coordinator at McMinn County Schools, uses a Jotform AI agent trained on testing documentation so that when testing time comes around, he doesn't have to repeatedly answer the same testing related questions. So that's one use for our AI agents. And actually we'll have Stephen speaking in another Jotform webinar coming within the next couple of months. So stay tuned for more there. We also have an example with Kevin Todd, program director at Trio Upward Bound. Kevin relied on Jotform's presentation agent to manage applications and student onboarding when he found himself very short-staffed at a critical time for those applications. So those are just 2 examples of some of the practical AI applications and use cases available within Jotform. All right, so at this point, I want to open things up for questions. I do know, again, James has been able to handle some of those on the back end, so thank you, James. And we can talk about some of the questions that have come up here. I do also want to mention, if you haven't shared your questions, do feel free to share those now. And even if you don't have questions, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any examples of something that really slows you down and maybe some inspiration you'll take away from today's session, feel free to throw that into the Q&A as well. I'd love to hear from those of you who have ideas about how you can move forward and make things a little bit easier this year. And we can talk about some of that as well. All right, let's look at those questions. Okay. Yeah, so first question is a little bit more about the AI tools. I think that came in before. I mentioned AI tools, but I can talk a little bit more about what AI is available in Jotform. I know that was a big piece of what Heather presented. So one feature is our one product that we have available are our AI agents. Those are anything I'm talking about here today is available to you regardless of what level of Jotform license you have. So from free users all the way through our enterprise users. So Jotform agents can be trained on any number of things. You can train them on student handbooks to answer FAQs from students, or maybe homework that whatever your curriculum is for the semester, so that they can answer homework questions. There's a ton of use cases there. We actually have a number of templates available. I believe there are over 700 different AI education agents in our template library. So you can see that by going to, I believe it's, if you're logged into your Jotform account, you'll see in the top bar, you'll see something for templates, and you can find those there. Tons and tons of examples there. I'm also happy if anybody wants to follow up after this to talk to you about something that might apply directly to you. Presentation agents. Yeah.
Sorry. If you don't mind, I just wanted to jump in. And I did mention during the presentation that Jotform has a Gmail agent, and that's something that kind of layers into your Gmail, and you can train it to draft responses to frequent questions you get through email, and it won't send without your approval, but that can help as well.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. That was, I was just about to talk a little bit more about presentation agents, but that's a really good plug for the Gmail agent as well. That's something anybody can use. And I know Heather, when Heather was presenting, she talked a little bit about how, sometimes individual teachers, you can't make these global changes, but you can make recommendations. But that is, I think, one thing that most people can use. As long as you use Gmail, you can automatically have that available to you. And we also have resources available so that you can learn more about that. So if anybody's interested, we have a webinar and a couple of tutorials as well. So you're welcome to follow up with me, and I'm happy to send links to those. Thank you. I did also just want to mention the presentation agents. Those can create and deliver presentations on your behalf. So again, you just give it the material that you want it to present on, and it creates the presentation. You do also have edit control over any of our AI tools. So you can always have the final overview of that and then use that for teaching purposes or training purposes. Again, a ton of implications there for use cases. I see Abby chimed in. She said she's excited about being able to connect the AI agent and existing forms. Absolutely. That is, have agents help people respond to your forms. And again, hopefully that saves you a lot of time in your workflows. Let's look at some of the other questions here. A couple of practical questions. Are there any discounts for educators in schools? Yeah, so if you're here and you don't already have a Jotform account, for individuals, we have a 50% discount for educators in schools. And I believe you can check that out if you go to jotform.com/education/pricing. You'll see the pricing there. But if you go to jotform.com/education, you can sign up for a 50% discount there. And then on the enterprise level, for any enterprise accounts, you'll need to speak with our enterprise sales team for that. But there are discounts available there as well. So very good practical question. Thanks for that one. Another practical question is about security. We didn't talk about that much today, but we do have a lot of security measures in place in Jotform in general. I know with schools, FERPA compliance is a big thing. So Jotform does enable FERPA compliance. A couple of other highlights, you can always go to jotform.com/security to read all about security protection built into the system. I always hesitate to say too much about security because I don't want to misstate anything and get in trouble with our legal team, but you can find everything there on that. Again, it's jotform.com/security, but a couple of other features on enterprise accounts. We have single sign-on available as an option, as well as local data residency as an option. And then on all accounts, we have two-factor authentication available. So those are just a couple of things there. Data within Jotform is protected when it is in the system, as well as when it's imported or exported from the system. So your data is kept safe. And again, you can read more about that on that security page. I don't see any more questions right now. Again, if you have any questions that maybe you just thought of, do feel free to share those. I will also mention that you can always follow up with me after. I'm Morgan at jotform.com, Morgan at Jotform, pretty easy to find me. Again, I'm happy to hear examples from you and your use cases. I'm also happy to point you to any resources. For more technical questions, I can help you get in touch with our support team, but that's jotform.com/contact. Or if you're an enterprise user, you can reach out to your individual support there as well. But you can always reach out to me and I can route you to the right person if I'm not the right person. So again, that's Morgan at Jotform. I did see another comment about data entry and communication take up most of my time. So that this person here is saying the Gmail agent is a good one. The attendance emails, especially, is scheduling and follow-ups. Yeah, I think that can be especially important. I have a child in TK right now. That's something, California, it's the year before kindergarten. And I know that there's so much communicating that happens. So if there's any way for you to automate that, I'm sure that would save a lot of time. And I'm sure that goes for higher ed as well. Another person, Jane seconding what Heather mentioned in the slides about jumping between platforms just to complete basic tasks. I know that's incredibly frustrating. There are, I think it was the Harvard Business Review did a survey about just the mental load it takes just to switch back and forth between tabs to get things done on different platforms. So of course, focus on tool integration and consolidation is something, Jane is thinking about here. That's great. I hope you're able to do something there. Great. Well, I think that's everything. All I have here. Thanks for everybody sharing questions and participating some in the discussion. And thank you all just for being here. Again, this is our first industry focused webinar of the year. So I'm always glad to talk to educators. Hopefully, again, Heather and I have shared some examples here that are useful for you and have inspired you to go back to your campuses and think about things that you can do personally, as well as things that you might want to advocate for. Again, just want to talk briefly about those resources. So you have the slides there. You have the link to the full report, the on-demand webinar that is pretty related to this session, and then Abby's upcoming webinar. And again, you'll receive the link to this in about 24 hours. That will be a layout very similar to what you're seeing, so you can watch and rewatch, as well as access all those resources. And again, last thing, you can always reach out to me with any other questions, resources, examples that you want to show off. I'm Morgan at Jotform. And finally, I want to thank Heather so much for participating today and for sharing everything from that survey. Again, I know you are the expert on this survey and the results. So thank you so much for being here. And then James as well. Always appreciate having you on the line with us. So hopefully we'll see you at an upcoming session, maybe at Abby's session next month or future sessions. And enjoy the rest of your day and good luck with the year. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.